Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts about the 40k universe. I am your host Gershwan, and today we're going to be talking about the Horus Heresy. Now this is part 9, so if you have not checked out this series, please do so by going over to our page and checking it out on the playlist. So let's get started with 40 Facts about the Horus Heresy. The heresy also struck at the technological and industrial heart of the Imperium on the forge world of Mars. The Mechanicum took side with Horus, and as a show of appreciation for the Fabricator General's support, Horus provided information that would allow the Mechanicum to open a repository of forbidden knowledge, known as the Vaults of Moravec. The Vaults of Moravec had been sealed for 1,000 years. The Emperor himself had decreed that the vaults never be opened, for they contain innumerable artifacts of technology that had been fashioned or corrupted by the malignant power of chaos. When this repository was reopened, a chaos-contaminated digital source code infested with an arcane computer virus attacked the computer archives of the Adeptus Mechanicus, known as the Cogitator, causing literal chaos to emerge in all computer systems. The night the chaos code was released would become known in the Mechanicum legends as the Death of Innocence. Open warfare erupted on the Red Planet in the wake of the Death of Innocence, as Martian forces, both civilian and military, fought one another in a deadly civil war that mirrored the larger conflict consuming the Imperium. This conflict became known as the Schism of Mars. The Imperial Fist Legion's Primarch Rogel Dorn and the Regent of the Imperium, Malcador the Siglet, received the few survivors of the Dropsite massacre of Isfahan V as they retreated back to Terra. Dorn immediately recalled all loyalist Imperial forces back to Terra in preparation for Horus's invasion. Of the Space Marine Legion still loyal to the Emperor, the Space Wolves had just completed the burning of Prospero, but without warning, the Alpha Legion fleet broke from the warp and engaged the Space Wolves, hammering their smaller fleet and forcing Leman Russ to resort to hit-and-run attacks. The White Scars Primarch, Gantai Khan, wished desperately to aid Russ, yet the Alpha Legion's Primarch, Alfarius, also attacked the White Scars in an attempt to draw the larger Astartes Legion into the conflict. Rogel Dorn sent an astropathic order to Khan. He was to bring his legion back to Terra immediately. Dorn also commanded him to relay the order to Russ and add that should he succeed in invading his attackers, only then should he attempt to head to Terra. At the world of Calth, the Ultramarines reunited as a single force, receiving Malcador's orders, and they sent out for Terra, moving through the warp rapidly as they could. The Iron Warriors Armada broke from the warp to engage the Imperial Fist fleet marooned near Isfahan V. Surviving the initial thrust of the Iron Warriors, the Imperial Fist Armada held fast and scattered Perturabo's fleet, then made their own warp jump to Terra in a desperate race against time. As the other loyal legions were getting the distress call, the Night Lords arrived in the eastern fringe of the galaxy to engage the Dark Angels. In the Cygnus cluster, the Blood Angels had triumphantly smashed the hordes of Chaos Demons with their new and terrible power. They were soon able to make the warp jump to Terra. Of the 9 remaining loyalist Space Marine legions, only the White Scars and the Blood Angels were able to join Rogel Dorn and his Imperial Fists in the defense of Terra before the arrival of the traitor legions in the solar system. 3 entire Titan legions of the Adeptus Mechanicus and a close to 2 million soldiers of the Imperial Army stood alongside the Space Marine legions to face the traitors in the battle that would determine the fate of mankind. Before the final confrontation between the Emperor and Horus, Malcador was tasked to summon 12 men of character, skill, and determination, who would be tested and trained to become the elite group of investigators intended to root out treachery across the Imperium in the centuries to come to prevent any event like the Horus Heresy from occurring again. This would be the foundation of the Inquisition. The warp gate the Emperor had constructed deep beneath the Imperial Palace required constant maintenance. At first, this demanded only a small portion of the Emperor's psychic might. He was able to command his armies and do all that he was expected to do as the Emperor. But the hideous monstrosities that ruled the warp, the self-proclaimed gods of chaos, were now strengthened by the Civil War. The Emperor's original choice for his replacement on the Golden Throne had been the Primarch Magnus the Red, but since Magnus and his Thousand-Son Space Marine Legion had sided with Horus and the Chaos God Tzeentch, the Emperor had to look somewhere else. Malcador was now the Emperor's chosen successor and the only remaining human psyker with enough strength to carry out the duty. Malcador was ready to sacrifice himself for the Emperor. Before he ascended to take his place upon the throne, Malcador presented 12 hooded attendants. These were the men the Emperor had asked for. Of the 12, 4 were mortal lords and administrators of the Imperium. They possessed of an inquisitive nature and unyieldy strength of mind. The other 8 were space marines whose ability were peerless as their dedication to the Emperor. Malcador the Sigilate ascended to the Golden Throne, replacing the Emperor who now stood before the edifice with his loyal captain Rogaldorn and Sanguinius. Malcador could not speak. Such was the concentration he had to bring to bear in order to control the tempestuous force at his call. The Emperor directed the attention of the 2 mighty Primarchs. Behold the greatest sacrifice of our age. Malcador the Sigilate is no more. Henceforth he shall always and only ever be called Malcador the Hero. Malcador the Hero was still but a mere human, his mental powers nothing compared to that of the Emperor, and this task proved overwhelming, consuming his body and soul in a matter of hours. The Battle of Terra began with an orbital bombardment by the War Master Horus's fleet as the prelude to the invasion. The Loyalist fleets were too few to face the combined force of so many traitor legions, and were mowed down without mercy. After days of bombardment, the Chaos Space Marine landed on the surface of Terra in drop pods and advanced on the 2 spaceports nearest to the location of the Imperial Palace to secure them in preparation for the main landing of the traitor forces. Despite the brave efforts of the Loyalists, the Eternity Wall and the Lion's Gate spaceport fell within hours to the forces of chaos. Dark chaos cultists made their invocations, calling down the great demons of chaos from the warp directly onto Terran soil. With the spaceports secured, Horus's remaining troops of the traitor legions and their traitor imperial armies landed on Terra. They also landed the terrible traitor titans that served the War Master's cause, and had been infected with the demonic power of chaos. The transport's immense size made them prime targets for the Terran defense lasers. Although many of the traitor landing crafts were destroyed in atmosphere, many more made it to the surface. The chaotic besiegers forged the Imperial defenders back to the wall of the Imperial Palace, where thousands died, slowing the assault. The Primarch Angron of the World Eaters Legion, now a demon prince of the blood god Khorne, came forth before the wall of the palace and demanded the Loyalists surrender, saying that they were cut off, outnumbered, and defended a ruler unworthy of loyalty. Many would have surrendered to Angron had it not been for the Primarch Sanguinius, the winged and seemingly angelic leader of the Blood Angels Legion. The true Primarchs, once brothers, gazed at each other, perhaps communicating telepathically. Eventually, Angron withdrew from the gates of the Imperial Palace. The siege of the Imperial Palace then began, and 3 times the forces of chaos scaled the walls, and 3 times they were hurled back by Sanguinius and the Blood Angels. Outside the palace walls, Space Marine and Imperial Army forces led by the Khan the Primarch of the White Scars Legion, unsuccessfully tried to draw the attention of the traitor army away from the palace. The White Scars were too outnumbered and were pushed back into the maze of corridors and bulwarks within the palace walls. The Khan had to find another way to defend the palace. Frustrated with his army's slow progress, Horus ordered the Legal Mortis, a traitor Titan legion, to demolish entire sections of the wall. Despite grievous losses, the Titan, led by the infamous Imperial-class battle Titan Dias Iri, gouged open breaches in the Imperial Palace's defenses, which the traitors then flooded through. Rather than assaulting the almost invincible flanks of the chaotic army, Khan, the White Scars Primarch, redirected his highly mobile Marines and the surviving Loyalist tank division of the Imperial Army to the Lion's Gate spaceport. Khan's lightning raid caught the traitors garrisoned at the spaceport completely by surprise, and reclaimed the spaceport for the Imperium. The Khan ordered his troops to reactivate the spaceport's defense lasers to prevent the traitor fleets from bringing down any more troops and equipment, and for a defensive perimeter to hold their newly conquered territory. Inspired by the success, the Loyalists also tried to seize back the Eternity Wall, but were driven back by the chaotic forces without difficulty, as they had reinforced their garrison following the loss of the Lion's Gate. From the Lion's Gate, the Khan was able to start firing on Horus's unprotected dropships, causing terrible damage. And those were 40 facts about the Horus Heresy. Now this is part 9, so we still have part 10, the final video in this series. So be sure to subscribe to the channel to get that, and check out other awesome videos that we have on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening. I hope your painting is going awesome while you listen to this. And of course, this was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.